All right, let's go to the other side. Paul Butler, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, it's just not true. Asa makes it sound like blacks use drugs more than anybody else, and as anyone who's been to college or high school knows, it's simply not true. We really shouldn't be talking about legalizing drugs. We should be talking about re-legalizing them. For most of our history, drugs have been perfectly legal. You could go into a drugstore in the 1800s and buy opium. Coca-Cola started out with a cocaine derivative in it. So what made them become legal? Not illegal, nothing to do with public safety. It was all about race. First drug criminalized, opium, San Francisco, 1890. The concern was that Chinamen were using it to seduce white women. Can trace it right down the line. Marijuana, Mexican field hands, it was making them lazy. With blacks, it was that cocainized Negroes were running rampant in the South. So our war on drugs is about race through and through. It always has been, and it is right now.
But Paul, are you saying that is the sole motive for it?
I don't think that that's the only motive, but I think that when we look historically at how the drug laws have been used, what happens to white people who use drugs?
Let me let the other side
How
respond
about
to this.
methamphetamine that's predominantly a white drug, that enforcement efforts across mid-America is directed at that?
But why don't
They're the ones
prisons
that are
look like
impacted.
America then?
That's not race-based. That is across the board of somebody who is engaged in methamphetamine production. That's who the prosecution's about. I have a question for you that I would like to ask Mr. Moderator, John, that, we didn't really cover this, and that is how the legalization would work. If it's legalized tomorrow, I would assume that we would be able to go down and get our methamphetamine.
I actually do want to come to that question because I think it's a terrific one, but I just want to have these guys respond to the point you were just making on the race issue.
Well, let me,
and the methamphetamine factor.
I side with Paul in the sense that the origins of drug prohibition and many of the continuing policies are inextricably and I think incontrovertibly linked to race or other outgroup stigma. LSD became associated with young people in the 60s. It was banned. It was legal effectively
but weren't
until
young people
1967.
considered pretty cool in the 60s?
Not by old people, And the same thing happened with ecstasy. How many of you, if you're over 50, you had the opportunity to use ecstasy legally until 1986. It was then demonized as a youth drug, first one that made you antisocial, then one that made you pro-social, and you'd go out to a rave and have sex all night or dehydrate. But more importantly, hydration is very important. It's the skin. More importantly, we need to dial back the hysteria. So, for instance, I just want to focus on one point Asa was making. Methamphetamine, 0.1% of people in America report having used it in the past 30 days. Is the drug war edifice, all of the costs in money and in monetary and human terms, is it worth trying to stop that 0.1%